Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India News Hour, India's voice to the world. I am Deepika Mehto, and coming up in the next 1 hour. Joe Biden warns Israel, says US will withhold weapons if it invades Rafah. Vladimir Putin says on Victory Day speech that Russia won't let anyone threaten it, says Russia would do everything to avoid a clash of global powers. Political parties intensify their polling campaign ahead of fourth phase of Lok Sabha elections and polling in India. And in sports, Josilo helps Real Madrid produce a spectacular comeback against Bayern Munich to reach their Champions League sixth finale. So those were the top headlines of the hour that we are tracking for all our viewers here on DD India News Hour. And to begin with the top story of the day. Well, the US President Joe Biden has said he will halt US weapon shipments to Israel if Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu orders a large-scale operation in Rafah. In an interview on Wednesday, Biden said that the US was still committed to Israel's defense and would supply Iron Dome rocket interceptors and other defensive arms, but also added that if Israel goes into Rafah, US will not supply the weapons and artillery shells used. Rafah is the last major Hamas stronghold in Gaza. Biden also said that he did not consider Israel's strikes a full-scale invasion as they have not struck population centers. US has been working with Arab states that are prepared to rebuild Gaza and help with the transition to a two-state solution following the war between Israel and Hamas. When asked about 2,000-pound bombs sent to Israel, Joe Biden confirmed that the United States has supplied these to Israel but has now paused sending in its war against Hamas. The United States is by far the biggest supplier of weapons to Israel, and it accelerated deliveries after the 7th of October Hamas-led attacks. In 2016, the US and Israeli governments signed a third 10-year memorandum of understanding that provides $38 billion in military aid over the 10 years, $33 billion in grants to buy military equipments, and $5 billion for missile defense system. Last month, US Congress approved $26 billion in additional funding for Israel. So now let's understand what bombs were blocked by the USA. Now, one shipment consists of around 907 kilogram bombs and around 771 kilograms of bombs. Shipments involve Boeing-made joint direct attack munitions that convert dump bombs into precision-guided ones, which are small in diameter bombs. SDB-1 is a precision-guided glide bomb that packs 250 pounds of explosive. Shipment was part of an earlier approved shipment to Israel. Well, it is not part of the recent $95 billion supplementary aid package passed in April. Also now let us understand why is the US blocking these bombs? Well, the US is now reviewing near-term security assistance in the context of unfolding events in Rafah. It reiterated that Israel should not launch a major attack into Rafah without accounting for and protecting the civilians. The US decision was taken due to concerns about the end use of the bombs and the impact they could have in tense urban settings. Let us also quickly tell you about when was the decision made and was Biden involved in that. Well, US officials said that the decision was made last week, in which Biden was directly involved in the decision. So Israel announced its intentions to carry out major operations in Rafah in February this year. This met with backlash from the international community, including from Israel's largest military supplier, United States. So on the 12th of February, the US first voiced concerns saying civilians who are packed into Rafah in the Gaza Strip and are exposed and vulnerable must be protected. President Biden did not talk about any consequences but urged their protection. However, by the month of March, the US hinted at considering conditioning military aid to Israel if it were to invade Rafah. They also issued its strongest public warning till then, terming any such attempt in Rafah would be a mistake. On the 19th of March, Biden, in a phone call with Netanyahu, asked him to send a team to Washington to discuss ways to target Hamas without a major ground operation in Rafah. On the 5th of April, the two leaders spoke again, during which Biden stressed Israel must implement steps to address civilian harm and the safety of workers. And as you can see on the screen, on the 12th of February, President Biden, he first voiced his concern, and in the month of March, he said that US considers conditioning military aid to Israel. Now, he also issued a strongest warning at that time. And now to discuss more on this and to give you an in-depth analysis, I am joined by DD India correspondent from Tel Aviv, Sarah Coates, and we would also have an expert guest on this. Good afternoon, Sarah. When we talk about this latest development, there is a stern statement from Joe Biden this time, and this comes almost as a warning. What sort of reaction are we expecting from Israel on this, Sarah?
Hello there, Deepika. Well, this is certainly a major shift by the US President Joe Biden, who has always said that he would never condition aid to Israel. Now, still no official comment from the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, but a number of senior defence officials are reportedly very, very worried as to what this could mean going forward in terms of preparedness for other potential future conflicts like Lebanon, let's say. Now, Hebrew media here in Israel is reporting, quoting a senior Israeli official as saying that this could force Israel to alter its operational plans on the ground in Gaza. Now, we've also heard from Israel's Foreign Minister, Israel Katz. He says that Israel will continue to fight Hamas until its destruction. Now, we're hearing some pretty furious reaction from the far right here in Israel, specifically the National Security Minister, Itamar Ben-Gvir. Now, he posted just a little while ago on X, writing, "Hamas loves Biden." That is all he wrote, and this is really drawing a lot of condemnation from others here in Israel, namely the opposition leader Yair Lapid, who is calling on Netanyahu to fire Ben-Gvir, saying that he is a danger to the safety of every Israeli. So certainly we definitely can be expecting some more reaction from the Israelis coming in over the next couple of hours, but certainly a lot of concern here in Israel.
And also, Sarah, what is the latest that we are tracking on the border crossing? Can we see food supply now at least entering the region or not? Sarah?
We do, of course, know that the Rafah border crossing does remain closed. And at this hour, we do understand that hundreds of Israelis from the southernmost city of Eilat, they are gathering on the border with Jordan, blocking trucks carrying these vital supplies bound for Gaza, saying that no food, no fuel, no water, no medical supplies can get in until the 130 hostages get out. Now, what we can tell you is that a ship that was loaded up yesterday in Cyprus with tons and tons of this vital humanitarian aid that left around 20 minutes ago from the port of Larnaca. Now, that is going to be the first ship that actually docks at this makeshift port that was built by the United States. The Pentagon announcing just yesterday that it had finished this port. It was just waiting to put the two pieces back together when weather permits. So this will certainly bring a little bit of relief into the Gaza Strip. But in saying that, aid groups say that literally nothing can make up for these border crossings that do remain closed, just given the absolute severity of the situation on the ground.
All right. Thank you so much, Sarah, for joining us and bringing us the latest information from Tel Aviv. Now to give you the latest on what's happening in Israel. Israel on Thursday said that its defense forces began a targeted operation in central Gaza's Zaytun area. The IDF said that the operation began with intelligence-based airstrikes, targeting and eliminating 25 terrorist targets, including military structures, terrorist tunnels, observation posts and sniper posts. Israeli ground troops are further operating to secure the area. And now to discuss more on this, I'm joined by Professor Harshvardhan Pant, who's the Vice President of ORF. Good afternoon, Professor Pant. Thank you so much for joining here on DD India. Now, what are the repercussions that you see out of Biden's statement here? Because it would indeed put the bilateral relationship under a lot of stress. However, Israel says that they would like to solve it behind closed doors.
Yes, I think the repercussions can be quite significant, and certainly for a very long time now, the Biden administration has been making it very clear to Israel that certain red lines cannot be crossed. There were private messages that were conveyed to Israel, and there were public warnings that have been given. We have seen President Biden himself speaking out to media on this very, very specifically, and making it very clear that he expects Israel not to enter Rafah. And I think that is something that continues to reverberate within the American domestic politics, within the American society, and particularly in this election year. Now, what I think has happened in the last few days is certainly America has realized that Israel is intent on going against its wishes, and therefore we have seen now public demonstration of American intent being expressed in ways that can do long-term damage to U.S.-Israeli relations. And therefore, I think this is a matter which is not simply bilateral, but this is also a matter which has grave repercussions for entire region in the Middle East. So therefore, I think both sides are engaging on this issue cautiously. You heard your correspondent telling you about how within Israeli domestic politics there is a lot of back and forth happening. Some people expressing openly how this is going to be very, very problematic, and some people pushing back and saying America is such an important ally. So I think you will see this kind of back and forth for a while. But clearly, what America has told Israel, and in unequivocal terms, is that this is unacceptable, and they will not support Israeli adventure in Rafah.
And also, as Sarah updated us with the latest information on the border crossing and how they are not witnessing any humanitarian aid entering Gaza. Now, this is making the common people suffer. By doing this, can Israel achieve actually what it wants? Because they are putting a lot of pressure. Or can it go against them being a political blunder here?
I think from the very beginning, there have been questions about Israeli strategy. Now, Israel believes that the most important thing that they have to do in this war is to eliminate Hamas, and everything else is sidelined. Now, in the process of moving in that direction, they have put a lot of civilians in harm's way. They have created a lot of pressure insofar as humanitarian issues are concerned. And of course, the more these images get out of Gaza and from Rafah now, I think the more pressure there would be on Israeli allies. So I think Israel is on the brink of becoming diplomatically isolated if it does not manage this properly. Now, a lot of this is happening because there is a domestic, center-right government or right-wing government of Benjamin Netanyahu that is making this case that, look, this is very important for us. And there is domestic pressure from the right wing of the coalition to do much more on this. And I think that domestic issues are being reflected in the border strategy. So as you rightly point out, they have not really been able to achieve a significant amount, even though they've been now fighting since October last year. There is a clear disconnect between what is happening on the ground and what the military objectives of this war have been. This idea that you can somehow destroy Hamas completely is also becoming more and more problematic. And now on top of that, you are witnessing how some of the closest allies of Israel, particularly the US, expressing its disenchantment with the way Israel is proceeding ahead. So I think there is a mismatch now between the strategic end game and the means that Israel has at its disposal to achieve those goals.
And now all eyes are on the ceasefire talks, and the entire world is hoping that it moves in a positive direction. Thank you so much, Professor Pant, for joining us and bringing us a rounded perspective on the current issue. Now, there is still no sign of a breakthrough in Egyptian-mediated talks between Israel and Hamas, but negotiations are continuing in Cairo. Meanwhile, the director of the U.S. Central Intelligence Agency is reported to have been in Israel meeting Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. In Washington, the U.S. Defense Secretary has publicly acknowledged that the decision to hold up weapon shipments to Israel is a response to its plans for a large offensive in the Gaza city of Rafah. DD India's Washington correspondent Kate Fisher reports. Take a look.
In the most blunt public statement to date that the US does not approve of its ally Israel's plans to invade Rafah, US Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin told a Senate committee that the US has paused one shipment of high payload munitions. He said that from the beginning the US has been clear that Israel shouldn't launch a major attack into Rafah without accounting for and protecting the civilians that are in the battle space. The public nature of his comments increases the strain on the US-Israeli relationship, and it signals the kind of leverage that the US can use to influence Israel's conduct in the war. But Republicans have condemned the move, arguing that the US is contradicting the will of Congress after lawmakers pass more than $14 billion in funding to help Israel in its fight against Hamas. Secretary Austin argued that the Biden administration's commitment to Israel's security is still, quote, ironclad, and that the US would, quote, continue to do what's necessary to ensure that Israel has the means to defend itself. Meanwhile, a mid-level Israeli delegation remains in Cairo for ceasefire talks with Hamas, despite a lack of progress. The main sticking point appears to be that Hamas wants a complete withdrawal of Israeli troops from the Gaza Strip, but Israel's leader Benjamin Netanyahu says its forces won't stop fighting until Hamas is destroyed and the hostages are released. In Washington, Kate Fisher reporting for DD India.
It's now time to take a short break here on DD India News Hour, but still to come on the other side. Japan plans to add fin whales to its commercial whaling species list. Biden administration is set to make a targeted move aimed at reducing illegal crossings. And key takeaways from Stormy Daniels' testimony on Tuesday.
As India decides in the world's largest election,
we help you feel the pulse of the nation.
I am Sakal Bhatt.
I am Shubhendu Ghosh.
This election season, join us on a journey of India.
We are in Assam. This is the tea city of India.
From down south, Tamil Nadu.
Discover the colors of democracy.
Gateway to northeast of India.
Coastal state of Kerala. Watch Poll Pulse on DT India.
Welcome back after that short break. You're watching DD India News Hour with me, Deepika. Now, Japan plans to add fin whales to its commercial whaling species list. Now, it was informed by the Japanese government spokesperson Yoshimasa Hayashi in his news briefing. Speaking about inheriting traditional food culture, he informed that the country's fisheries agency had earlier put up a revised draft in this regard for public consultation. After exiting from the International Whaling Commission in 2019, Japan resumed commercial whaling, currently limited to mink, braids and sei whale species. Now, to get you more on this, I'm joined by DD India's Chris Gilbert, who joins us straight from Tokyo. A very good afternoon from India, Chris. Now, indeed, this is a very much awaited addition to carol the taste buds. But what does this exactly mean for Japan's economy, Chris?
Well, I'm not exactly sure who's been waiting for it. There are about 50,000 fin whales in the North Pacific. There are 25,000 in the entire Southern Hemisphere, and it is more whaling for Japan. It's yet to be seen what the economic effect of this is. Recent data suggests that there is more money to be made for Japan in whale watching than whale hunting. In 2019, when commercial whaling supposedly resumed, it was supported by a $44 million subsidy, which was very much needed, advocates said at the time, to keep the industry afloat, no pun intended. But in all of those decades, the 30 years where it was supposedly not commercially whaling, it was still whaling. Japan hunted and killed about 3,500 minke whales in the Southern Ocean near Antarctica between 2005 and 2014. It did so under the guise at that time of research, much to the protestations of nearby countries such as Australia and New Zealand, and was in fact banned from this practice in 2014 by the UN. It still continued it. It left, as you mentioned, the IWC in 2019 and resumed commercial fishing of whales, or commercial whaling, and it is a practice that now looks to be being expanded by the government.
And also, how would you look at this when we talk about helping in preserving the food culture of Japan specifically here, Chris?
It is an interesting issue. There are many critics of Japan's whaling culture around the world. However, there are communities inside Japan, maritime communities, which have practiced whaling going back to the 12th century. There's such a community just east of Tokyo. There's a port town in the prefecture of Chiba, which is one such example. There's others in the west of Japan, and they are, by all means, sustainably whaling and practicing, ancient sustainable practices of catching whales. Now, you can find whale meat or kujira in izakayas around Japan. They are not exactly prolific. They're somewhat of a delicacy. It's not a quote-unquote normal daily food that is eaten in Japan. But when you do find kujira restaurants, it's questionable if that meat was sourced ethically from one of these sustainable areas. But in 2019, when the practice openly commercially resumed, advocates of whaling were saying that they were happy that the custom got to be passed down now and maybe be appearing in children's lunches and breakfasts going into the future again. So there is definitely a history there, and it looks as though the practice is only going to grow in Japan from here under the current government.
All right. Thank you so much, Chris, for joining us and bringing us the latest on this latest information. Now, South Korean President Yoon Suk-yeol has completed his first 2 years in the office, admitting that his government's efforts to improve people's lives had fallen short, conceding a crushing election defeat for his ruling party last month that reflected voters' assessment of his 2 years in the office. Yoon's comments in his first news conference in 21 months comes after the defeat of his People Power Party in an April 10 vote that prompted calls for a change in his leadership style and policy direction to salvage a presidency not yet at the halfway point. He has pledged to communicate better with the public and the parliament. He also announced the formation of a new government ministry to address the country's record low birth rate and fast-aging society. Now, the Biden administration is set to make a targeted move aimed at reducing illegal crossings. According to the sources, the administration is expected to issue a new regulation tightening access to asylum at the US-Mexico border. The regulation would require migrants to be assessed at an initial asylum screening stage to see whether they should be barred from asylum and quickly deported. The regulations are also expected to be issued as a proposed one and finalized at a later date. President Biden, seeking second term, has struggled with record numbers of migrants since taking office in 2021. While former President Donald Trump has criticized Biden for rolling back more restrictive Trump-era policies. The adult film star, pivotal in former US President Donald Trump's hush money trial, testifies again this Thursday. Earlier this week, Stormy Daniels disclosed details of her alleged romantic involvement with Donald Trump, a claim that Trump refutes. Prosecutors assert that the payment for her silence a decade later was improperly labeled as legal expenses. Trump maintains his innocence against 34 felony charges. Reporting from New York, DD India's Sally Patterson covers the latest development in the ongoing case.
The jury had Wednesday to think over Stormy Daniels' testimony because the court doesn't sit on Wednesdays. But on Tuesday, they heard from the woman who is in some ways at the very centre of this trial. Daniels took to the stand on Tuesday and talked the jury through the relationship she says she had with Donald Trump. She claims to have met the former president in 2006 at a golf tournament in Lake Tahoe. She says Trump then invited her back to his suite for dinner. She wasn't sure whether to go, but she says after speaking to her publicist, she decided it was worth going because her publicist said that it was going to be a good story either way. Now, Daniels says that she went to Trump's hotel suite, went inside and found him wearing just his satin pajamas. She said the two of them had dinner where they discussed her career and the pornography industry more widely. She says she went into the bathroom after they'd eaten, and when she came out, Trump was lying on his bed wearing just his underwear. She says a sexual encounter then took place. Donald Trump has always denied any affair or sexual relationship between the pair of them. Now, the reason that her testimony is crucial to this case is because this trial is looking at an allegation put forward by the prosecution that Donald Trump tried to cover up that affair in a way that wasn't actually legal. The prosecution claims that the way that the money was paid to Stormy Daniels, $130,000 to keep quiet ahead of the 2016 election, was that in itself is not illegal, but they say that the way that Donald Trump then paid back that money to his then lawyer and fixer Michael Cohen was. Trump allegedly filed those expenses as legal expenses, something the prosecution says is incorrect. Trump has pleaded not guilty to 34 different felony counts. He said that this is all a political smear by his opponents designed to try and keep him out of the White House. Sally Patterson in New York reporting for DD India.
It's now time to take a short break here on DD India News Hour, but still to come on the other side. India's Foreign Secretary Vinay Mohan Kwatra pays a courtesy call on Bangladesh Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina. India surpasses Japan globally to rank third in terms of solar power generation in 2023. And India's President Draupadi Murmu to confer Padma Awards at second investiture ceremony.
Hype versus facts. In-depth news and analysis with experts who will help you decide why this election matters. DD India is the main election headquarters with numbers most accurate, data most reliable, and viewership across the platforms. Stay tuned to the Great Indian Election only on weekdays at 8:30 p.m. IST and 1500 hours GMT.
As India decides in the world's largest election,
We help you feel the pulse of the nation.
I am Sakal Bhatt.
I am Shubhendu Ghosh.
This election season, join us on a journey of India.
We are in Assam. This is the tea city of India.
From down south, Tamil Nadu,
Discover the colors of democracy.
gateway to northeast of India.
Coastal state of Kerala. Watch Poll Pulse on DD India.
Complex issues, hidden agendas, twists and turns, strategic games. We think all dots are linked. We just need to connect them. Join me every week as I connect the dots to unravel hidden designs in statecraft, mysteries, and decode issues that matter to you. Watch Connecting the Dots with me at these times on DD India.
Welcome back after that short break. You're watching DD India News Hour with me, Deepika, and now it's time to quickly take a recap of top headlines of the hour. Vladimir Putin says on Victory Day speech that Russia won't let anyone threaten it, says Russia would do everything to avoid a clash of global powers. Political parties intensify their poll campaigns ahead of fourth phase of the Lok Sabha polling in India. And in sports, Joselu helps Real Madrid produce a spectacular comeback against Bayern Munich to reach their 6th Champions League final. Russia is celebrating Victory Day, marking Soviet Union's victory over Nazi Germany in World War II. Speaking at the annual military parade in Moscow, President Vladimir Putin asserted that Russia would do everything to prevent a conflict between global powers, but would not allow anyone to it.
Russia will do everything to prevent a global conflict, but at the same time, we will not allow anyone to threaten us. Our strategic forces are always in combat readiness.
The heads of state from Kazakhstan, Laos, Guinea-Bissau, Tajikistan, Kyrgyzstan, Belarus, Turkmenistan and Cuba attended the celebrations.
На куполе Рейхстага священная. Это реликвия, которую нам передали старшего сержанта Дмитрия Монастырева.
And now to discuss more on this, I'm joined by DD India's Dasha Chernyshova, who's joining us from Moscow. A very good afternoon to you, Dasha, from India. Now, Russia kicks off its 79th Victory Day military parade, and this time, Vladimir Putin is taking this opportunity to send a different message to the West as war with Ukraine rumbles on into a third year. What are the key takeaways from Putin's message, Dasha?
Well, the Russian president was addressing the Russian people as well as the participants of that military parade in Moscow's Red Square, saying that the distortion of the historic memory and of history itself is absolutely unacceptable. And he accused the Western countries of trying to distort that history, to wipe out the memories of the deeds of the Soviet people and the nations that were helping Russia and the Soviet Union to destroy the Nazi Germany. He was also saying that it was convenient for the Western countries to distort the history at this point in time, but he also stressed that this abuse of history, revanchism, would not be successful. He stressed that Russia is indeed willing to do everything possible to prevent the confrontation with the other countries, but it is saying that it has its strong military, and that was pretty visible by the parade itself, with the soldiers marching in Red Square as well as the military equipment being there. And he also noted that the Russian strategic weapons are on constant alert, and that's why there will be no success with any country trying to defeat Russia. He also addressed the Russian people, saying that the veterans of Russia's special military operation in Ukraine are the heroes of Russia, that all Russians are behind them. And this is an attempt by the Russian authorities to draw a direct line between the events of the past and the present, saying that Russia is fighting against the threats coming from the West, and it was forced to do so, and it is doing so in Ukraine at the moment. So the understanding here in Moscow is that this victory parade now not only marks the defeat of the Russian of the Soviet Union over the Nazi Germany, but also the fights that the Russian soldiers today are taking part in as they participate in the operation in Ukraine.
All right, thank you so much, Dasha, for joining us and bringing us the latest from Russia. Now, North Korean leader Kim Jong-un has expressed his firm support and solidarity for Russia in his congratulatory message to Russian President Vladimir Putin on the Victory Day. And now, indeed, India News Hour. Let's quickly take a look at other stories making news around the world. One of the busiest tourist destinations of Thailand, Phuket, sees vast number of tourist influx in holiday season, adding to overcrowding, congestion and pollution. In a pilot initiative, the Phuket Development Foundation has partnered with some local businesses to launch 100% electric buses, with the first bus plying en route on Thursday. Barcelona star footballer Lionel Messi's contract napkin opened for auction on Wednesday, with bidders reaching up to $300,000. Signed in December 2000 by the then sporting director of Barcelona, Carles Rickshaw, to recruit the 13-year-old Messi, the napkin represents deep connect between Messi and Barcelona. American Museum of Natural History in New York has opened an interesting exhibition on Thursday, themed Ice Cold, an exhibition of hip-hop jewelry. This is the first display of hip-hop items by the museum, with many of the items borrowed from the artists on personal trust and relations. Now, India's External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar on Thursday met with his Maldivian counterpart Musa Zamir in New Delhi. Dr. Jaishankar noted that India has been a key provider of development assistance to the Maldives. India's projects have benefited the people of Maldives and contributed to the quality of life. Musa Zamir is on his first official visit to India since assuming his office.
Excellency, India has been a key provider of development assistance to the Maldives. Our projects have benefited the lives of the people of your country, have contributed directly to the quality of life. They range from infrastructure projects and social initiatives to medical evacuation and health facilities. We have also extended financial support on favorable terms in the past. India has been a first responder on numerous occasions for Maldives. Our cooperation has also enhanced the security and well-being of your country through shared activities, equipment provisioning, capacity building and training.
Now, India's Foreign Secretary Vinay Mohan Quatra paid a courtesy call on Bangladeshi Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina. Quatra also met Bangladesh Foreign Minister Hassan Mahmood. During his 2 days visit, Quatra will also hold a meeting with his Bangladeshi counterpart Masood bin Momen. Discussion on bilateral ties, including political and security, trade and investment, power and energy, defense, connectivity and sub-regional cooperation is top on the agenda. Now, a recent report by global energy think tank Ember says India has surpassed Japan globally to rank third in terms of solar power generation in 2023. Here's a report that tells you more about it. Take a listen.
India has surpassed Japan globally to rank third in terms of solar power generation in 2023. Rapid expansion of solar energy has catapulted it to the third place in world rankings, according to a recent report by global energy think tank Ember. The report added that solar power contributed to 5.8% of India's total energy production last year. The increase of clean electricity is not just reducing carbon footprint, but also meeting the rising energy demand. It is also helping in decoupling economic growth from emissions, crucial for tackling climate change. India registered fourth largest increase in solar generation in 2023, only behind China, the United States and Brazil. India has been advocating adoption of renewable energy sources and championing the cause of combating climate change. Prime Minister Narendra Modi has been a vocal proponent of clean energy. He was instrumental in the launch of the International Solar Alliance in 2015. It is a treaty-based alliance of countries between the tropics that are rich in solar resources. The goals of ISA is creating a leadership role in climate action and mobilizing $1 trillion by 2030 for affordable solar energy.
While India received over $111 billion in remittances in the year 2022, marking a significant milestone as the first country to surpass $100 billion threshold, according to the United Nations Migration Policy, the International Organization for Migration. Now, World Migration Report 2024 also revealed that India was the top recipient of remittances in 2022, ahead of Mexico, China, Philippines and France. Now, Mexico received $61.1 billion, China received $51 billion, Philippines received $38.05 billion, whereas France received $30.04 billion. The report further stated that India is also the origin of the largest number of international migrants in the world, which is nearly 18 million. Not only this influx of funds is largely driven by a significant number of migrant workers from Southern Asia. So India is now the 13th most popular destination for migrants, with 4.48 million people coming from other countries to live in India. Moving on, after cancellation of nearly 80 flights, Air India Express has terminated 30 cabin crew members after they failed to report to work. The termination letter issued to crew members saying that the mass leave clearly points to a premeditated and concerted abstention from work without any justifiable reason. The Air India Express crisis is fresh trouble for the Tata Group barely a month after its full-service carrier Vistara witnessed disruptions due to protests by the pilots over changes in their pay packages. And now to discuss more on this, I'm joined by DD India correspondent Priya Yadav from the newsroom. A very good afternoon to Priya. Now, Priya, why Air India Express crew is up in the arms, and any updates on how many Air India Express flights have been affected till now, Priya?
Yes, Deepika, the reasons and the reports as per we're listening is that the management has been a major reason why the crew members have decided to go on a protest. And more than 100 flights were cancelled and delayed on Tuesday night, and over 100 crew members have been the reasons why they have been cancelled. And the Air India Express Group have also terminated 25 of its senior crew members by immediate effect, and the Air India Express Group has also given a statement citing the inconvenience caused, and also saying that they are making every effort to minimize the inconvenience that have caused to the passengers. They have also given a WhatsApp number to the passengers to get a complete refund or get their flights rescheduled if it has got delayed for more than 3 hours. Now, the catch, Deepika, here is that the Air India Express Group has also given an ultimatum to the rest of the members that they have to join back to work by 4 p.m. today. The Air India Express spokesperson has also said that they will be operating 283 flights today. However, 80 flights still stand cancelled. Deepika, we'll get you more on this only after 4 p.m. once we get an update on the rest of the crew members, whether they decide to join or not to join. Deepika.
All right. Thank you so much, Priya, for joining us and bringing us the latest on the Air India Express. Now, it's time to get you the latest on the world's largest democratic elections across India. So the fourth phase of India's Lok Sabha elections is all set to be held on the 13th of May, with voters across 96 constituencies in 10 states to cast their ballot. Now, this phase will witness voters in all 25 seats in Andhra Pradesh and 17 constituencies in Telangana, along with other states participating in the electoral process. The build-up to this phase has been intense, with political rallies and campaigns in full swing. So, campaigning for the fourth phase of Lok Sabha election, scheduled to take place on the 13th, gains momentum as political leaders hold rallies and roadshows across the nation. And in order to garner support of the voters in the favour of party candidate, Union Minister Amit Shah held a rally in Bhongir Lok Sabha constituency of Telangana. BJP's National President JP Nadda also held a public rally in Uttar Pradesh's Chitrakoot in support of candidate RK Singh Patel. BJP leader and Uttar Pradesh Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath also addressed a rally in state's Lakhimpur. So, as phase 4 of the general election are approaching, Indian political parties are scrambling to woo the voters across the country. Congress General Secretary Priyanka Gandhi Vadra addressed a public meeting in Raebareli city today. Samajwadi Party Supremo Akhilesh Yadav is all set to hold a public rally in UP's Lakhimpur constituency. The SP candidate Utkarsh Verma is contesting from the Lakhimpur seat. Bahujan Samaj Party Chief Mayawati will also hold public meeting in Kannauj constituency of Uttar Pradesh. Odisha Chief Minister Naveen Patnaik also addressed a public meeting in the Gopalpur Assembly constituency of Ganjam district. During the rally, he urged the voters to vote for a good candidate. And now to discuss more on this, I'm joined by DD India correspondent from Ground Zero. Amit Mukherjee is joining with us from Indore, Madhya Pradesh. And we also have Dibyendu Mondal, who is joining us from West Bengal. A very good afternoon to both of you. First of all, Amit, coming to you, there are interesting incidents that are coming in the newspapers and across the news that the Election Commission is doing a lot to woo the voters there in Madhya Pradesh, especially the cases of the voters winning diamond rings as well. What are the latest updates when we talk about ECI's preparations for the fourth phase of polling? Amit.
Well, Deepika, as you are aware and our viewers are aware that the elections out here in India are happening in the summer months amidst the scorching heat. In fact, if I can just give you an understanding, as we speak from Indore, right from the center of the city, the temperature out here is about 41 degrees centigrade. That is the kind of temperature that is being witnessed across the country right now, especially the central part of India, because the Tropic of Cancer passes through Madhya Pradesh. And it's a big task, it's a Herculean task for the Election Commission of India to get people out in this heat to come and vote at the polling stations. Now, which is why it has been, particularly after the second phase of elections, when it witnessed that the voter turnout has been pretty significantly low, in fact, compared to 2019, they started devising various ways and methods and incentivizing the entire polling process. In fact, they wanted to beat this heat and get, incentivize voters to come out and vote in this scorching heat. So, I mean, in Madhya Pradesh, of course, Election Commission has been introducing various incentives to get voters to the polling stations. For example, they have been luring them with goodies like refrigerators, appliances and all. But the only thing is that they have to come to the election booth, cast their vote, get themselves inked with the indelible ink. And, at the polling stations, they have organized, various lucky draws. Some of them are like on-the-spot lucky draws, and some of them, happen about 2-3 days. That's a major lucky draw that happens 2-3 days after the polling gets over. Now, this is the kind of incentive they are giving. In fact, even for the fourth phase, which, of course, Indore will also be, people from Indore will also be casting their vote in the fourth phase. For them also, the Election Commission has they are kind of teaming up with stakeholders to kind of lure them with goodies and coupons. And Indore being a food city, I mean, it's well known for its street food. So the Election Commission is tying up with various food joints to kind of give out coupons for those who cast their vote and complete their duty. Deepika?
We also have with us Dipyendu, who's joining us from West Bengal. Now, Krishnanagar is a very important constituency, Dipyendu, and indeed for the BJP, silencing Mahua Moitra is very important. This is what the BJP has to say. How's the fight shaping up there in Krishnanagar constituency, Dipyendu?
Well, good afternoon, Deepika. Of course, I'm at the Krishnanagar constituency here in West Bengal. And as you said, it's a task that the BJP has taken upon themselves to defeat Mahua Moitra, who is contesting on a TMC ticket from here. She's contesting for the second time. Remember, Deepika, she was ousted from the parliament just a couple of months before the final session of the parliament ended in an alleged cash for question scam. So, of course, the BJP is trying to corner her on that. And the BJP has fielded the Queen Mother or the Rajmata or the Rani, as the people of Krishnanagar says, Amrita Roy, who has been a descendant of the king, the erstwhile king of Krishnanagar, Raja of Krishnanagar. So, of course, this contest is turning out to be interesting because of the fact that both the BJP and the Trinamool Congress are putting all their might here in Krishnanagar. Today, we just saw the BJP candidate Amrita Roy campaigning and holding a roadshow with senior BJP leader now and former actor Mithun Chakraborty. Just a couple of days back, even the Prime Minister Narendra Modi had come to Krishnanagar to campaign for the BJP candidate, while on the other hand, both Mamata Banerjee and Abhishek Banerjee, the two top leaders of the TMC, had come to Krishnanagar to campaign and canvass for Mahua Moitra. On the other hand, it's of course a three-corner fight from here where the CPIM has also fielded a candidate that will take on both the BJP as well as the Trinamool Congress from this particular seat. So interesting contest from the Krishnanagar seat. Interesting contest. Of course, we'll have to wait and watch as to how this constituency plays out on the 4th of June. Back to you.
All right. Thank you so much, Amit, and thank you so much, Dipyendu, for joining us from Ground Zero and bringing us the latest update on how the constituencies are preparing for the upcoming polling. Now, how about a free snack if you perform your duty? Well, you heard it right. To increase the voting percentage in the ongoing parliamentary elections, the central Indian city of Indore has a very tempting offer. DD India correspondent Vishal Peristo finds out more.
Gulab Jamun, Jalebi, Poha. Now this is the Indian fast food and sweet. We are in Indore, and when it comes to Indore, Poha is the speciality. It's a quick snack in the morning. But why I am talking about these things? Well, the Association of Chappan, which means 56 in English, have decided that to increase the voting percentage, they have a very cool offer for the voters. You cast your vote, come here, show your finger, and have a free breakfast. Let's talk to the owner and also the shopkeepers, and also talk to some of the voters who are waiting for the opportunity.
We thought that when Indore's people goes out for vote, it may happen that some will lag, some will go late and stand in queues. So it was my plan that at my shop 56 Dukan, people who vote will get free breakfast of Poha Jalebi, so they won't have to worry and may relax. I think it will also encourage people to vote. That's my message and idea behind it.
This is called Poha and it is made of rice. It's a quick snack in the morning. This is dosa, this is from the south of India, and there you have the sandwiches. Now, there's a family out here. Let's talk to them and find out what do they feel about this offer. What do you have to say?
The offer is very pretty good because if we vote, we get free food, and which saying that people will vote a lot maybe. And as a young person right now, I will vote for the first time. So it's the glad news because voting for the first time and getting this kind of offer is a lot tempting.
Wow. So you vote for the first time and then you get the reward. Now let's ask the lady of the house, what kind of offer is this?
It's a very cool offer.
It's a very cool offer, and there you see this family is enjoying their snack. So we let them enjoy their snack. And from here in Indore with cameraman Manmohan, this is Vishal Peristo, DT India.
And now it's time to take a look at other stories making news across the country. India's President Draupadi Murmu will confer Padma Awards at second investiture ceremony in Rashtrapati Bhavan today. Padma Awards is one of the highest civilian awards across the country. The awards are given in various disciplines and fields of activity, including art, social work, science and engineering, trade and industry, medicine, literature, sports and civil service. India's Army and Assam Rifles launched a joint operation on Wednesday and arrested two National Socialist Council of Nagaland cadres with one 9mm pistol and ammunition. In another operation, acting on a specific information of presence of cadres in the general area Dumduma in Assam state, the Army apprehended an individual who was found in possession of one 7.65mm pistol on the 7th of May. The first batch of pilgrims left from Delhi IGI Airport for Saudi Arabia for the Holy Hajj pilgrimage on Thursday. The batch consists of 285 pilgrims. A total of 16,500 pilgrims will leave for Hajj pilgrimage this year from Delhi embarkation point. Special arrangements and preparations are in place for the smooth transition of the pilgrims. Char Dham Yatra also commences with the opening of doors of Kedarnath Dham on the 10th of May with worship and Vedic chanting. The preparations for the opening of the doors are going on in full swing and the temple is being decorated with 40 quintals of flowers. And now it's time to get to the latest from the world of sports. First, from football. Real Madrid snatched a last-gasp Champions League victory at home over Bayern Munich to reach the final in London. TD India's Ollie Barrett reports.
So we now know which teams Wembley will host on Saturday, June the 1st, and it will be Real Madrid against Borussia Dortmund. Real Madrid going for their 15th European Cup, showing again their pedigree in the Champions League tournament. The second semi-final was dramatic. It did look as if Bayern Munich were going to clinch an unlikely victory and head through to the final. Then there was that controversial substitution off of Harry Kane by the Bayern manager Thomas Tuchel, and after that a couple of goals for Real Madrid in the 89th minute and the 92nd minute from Joselu. So no English sides in the English-based Champions League final at Wembley on June the 1st. The English sides very upset indeed that none of them have made it to that final at the showcase destination of English football. There will be English interest though, of course. Jude Bellingham will play for Real Madrid unless there's an injury in the intervening period. He's hoping to cap a extraordinary first season as a Real Madrid player with a Champions League title to add to the La Liga title that he's already secured with the team. And for Borussia Dortmund, Jadon Sancho having a terrible season from his perspective at Manchester United, sidelined by Man United boss Erik ten Hag, back to his old club Borussia Dortmund on loan, and now he is into a Champions League final. Real Madrid, you have to say, will be favourites on Saturday, June the 1st, when we get to Wembley. Carlo Ancelotti, the manager of Real Madrid, despite having so many glittering sides over the years, says that this is the best squad he thinks that he has ever had. And as I say, as a result, his Real Madrid team will be favourites here in London on June the 1st. Ollie Barrett in London, reporting for DD India.
In table tennis, Manika Batra continued her dream run at Saudi Smash as she beat world number 40 Nina Mittelheim to book her spot in the quarterfinals in Jeddah on Wednesday. Manika followed up her stunning second-round victory over world number 2 Wang Man-yu by beating German Mittelheim by 11-6, 11-9, 11-7 in 22 minutes to reach the last 8 stage at this level for the first time in her career. This is Manika's first ever victory over Mittelheim in 4 meetings. She will face Japan's Hina Hayata, who's world number 5, for a place in the semis. In hockey, India has now announced a 24-member squad that will take part in the FIH Hockey Pro League to be held in Belgium and England. The Belgium leg will begin on the 22nd of May and end on the 30th of May, while the England leg will commence on the 1st of June and conclude on the 12th of June. India will play against Argentina, Belgium, Germany and Great Britain twice each across both the legs. 14 Indian wrestlers, including Aman Sehrawat and Deepak Punia, will battle for Paris 2024 quotas at the World Wrestling Olympic qualifiers in Istanbul, city of Turkey. There will be 3 Olympic quotas on offer in each weight category at Istanbul from the 9th till the 12th of May. And that's all for this edition of DD India News Hour. But let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on DD India mobile app. The app is available on both Android and iOS platforms. Scan the QR code on the screen to download it right now. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I am Deepika Mehto, and from all of us here in New Delhi, thank you so much for watching DD India News Hour. Namaskar.